replicate. There's nothing in the world that you can do that replicates the forces, the G-forces of trying to wrestle a 300 horsepower MotoGP bike around one of the most spectacular circuits on the entire calendar. Alex Rins deep in focus. Fabio Quartararo also in the zone. He's been here before, he's won MotoGP races from pole position, but there you can see he has decided to go for that hard rear Michelin tyre, one of the few at the front of this grid to do so. Is that a big gamble, or is it going to be one that pays off dividends? Big start.
5 minutes until we go racing. 3 minutes until the warm-up lap. The BMW M3 screams down towards turn 1. Alex Rins has got such an opportunity today as well. He seems to go under the radar often, Alex Rins. You never really know what type of day you're going to get from Alex, but he's been in the top 5 pace-wise and every session pretty much all weekend, which spells danger normally.
It does. Front row was a bonus for Alex Rins. He said yesterday, slight concern about tyre drop. It was quite early on the Suzuki, so he'll be hoping the GSX-RR's prowess at being fast on well-worn tyres pays off again. What is going through the mind then of Marc Marquez? He's not been in this pressure cooker atmosphere, this pressure cooker environment since July the 19th, 2020. And again, just trying to limber up that recovering right arm. It's been a problem. He was warned by the doctors and the physios coming into this race that power and endurance would be an issue as the weekend wore on.
But, Matt, it's Marc Marquez and it's race day. And when the visor goes down, Marc Marquez tends to do what he wants.
He becomes a completely different animal, doesn't he? He's having a good long glare to his left. Who's he keeping an eye on? It's just, we have to say, phenomenal to see him back.
Absolutely great. Here we go. The grid forming. Quartararo gambling on the hard rear tyre. The World Championship leader starts from third, Johann Zarco, with Rins in second. But the man who won most recently starts from pole position. He's in fantastic form heading into the Portuguese Grand Prix, and he starts from pole position. It's Quartararo on pole in Portugal. And we're just about ready to go racing. A 25-lap race of the Algarve International Circuit on the way next.
It's time for MotoGP to rumble at the roller coaster. 25 laps of the famous Algarve International Circuit in Portugal. Pole position yesterday for flying Frenchman Fabio Quartararo. Can he make it back-to-back wins? Can Yamaha start a MotoGP season with 3 wins in a row for the first time since 2010? Alex Rins and Johann Zarco, the World Championship leader, on the front row. Jack Miller, Franco Morbidelli on the podium here last November. And the returning icon Marc Marquez, the 8-times world champion, in 6th place. Aleix Espargaro, Luca Marini, a career best 8th place on the grid for him in MotoGP, ahead of the world champion Joan Mir in 9th. Keep an eye on Pecco Bagnaia and Maverick Vinales, 11th and 12th respectively. He had great race pace yesterday. Miguel Oliveira, of course, our Portimao race winner here 4 months ago in November. He starts from 10th.
Delayed a while there, weren't they, before they make their way around then for the warm-up lap here for the Portuguese Grand Prix. The run to turn 1 is nowhere near as long as it is in Qatar. You still favour a Ducati to get there in front, but that is a lot shorter. There is more of a chance if Quartararo can get a brilliant start for him to still lead out front, and that could be a crucial part of the race.
Zarco and Miller know if they make the start with Ducati's famous launch control device, they could well be a Bologna 1-2 going into that first corner, and then that puts pressure on Quartararo and Rins to make something happen, make some risky overtakes. We do know that Quartararo and Rins have got some serious race rhythm. Well, we've seen Fabio Quartararo go for that hard Michelin rear tyre. Let's hear the thoughts on that and some general tyre selection thoughts from Michelin Motorsport manager Piero Taramasso. He's with Simon.
Piero, we've seen some last-minute changes to the hard. Can you tell us what you see happening in the race today, tyre-wise?
Yes, in the grid, because the temperature it went up, because the sun, so the track temperature is 43 degrees. The last change is Yamaha, Vinales and Morbidelli, they changed to hard rear. So now we have 3 Yamaha with the hard rear, the 4 KTM, with the hard rear, and all the rest with this medium rear. So we'll see, but both tires, they are performing very well. It's just a changing on handling in the feeling. We have to see at the end of the race which one was the best choice.
Piero, thank you and good luck.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Thanks very much, Simon. Thanks to Piero Tommaso. It's interesting, isn't it? Very interesting indeed. Marc Marquez returns. His first race in 265 days. It was 9 months ago today, that crash in Jerez. There's always action guaranteed in MotoGP. It's on the way next. A bold move from Yamaha, Matt.
Yeah, and it looks like as well, Michelin releasing some information. Valentino Rossi as well has switched over very, very late on to the hard rear tyre. So all Yamahas, it looks like, information we'll be getting in the commentary box, that they have all switched over to that hard rear tyre. It's going to be all about the start, though, isn't it, for Zarco and Miller? Zarco third, Miller fourth. Can they make it? A Ducati 1-2 on that plunge down the hill into the first corner.
130 beats per minute for Quartararo there. Mine's about double that already. Again, there's a bit of a delay on the grid here for the MotoGP riders, but it looks as though we're set to go. Lights out in Portugal. A very good start actually from Fabio Quartararo and Alex Rins as well. But as we shoot down to turn one, Rins has it, but here comes Zarco. He leads into turn one. Quartararo drops to fourth because Marquez is up to third.
Great start by Marc Marquez, and he's up to fourth place already, trying to find a way through on Jack Miller into turn three. It's getting very, very tight. Zarco's out wide into turn three, and has Alex Rins been able to find a way through? No. Zarco holds the inside line. Marquez is up to third already.
What a start from Joan Mir as well, number 36. Look at him. He's up alongside Pecco Bagnaia. It's Zarco that leads into turn five. Marquez sits up Jack Miller, and goes through into third again.
Yeah, and that also cost Miller a place on Mir as well. He had to run out wide onto the dirty part of the track into turn five. Couldn't squeeze the power back on up the hill. So Mir, also great charge. He's recovered from ninth to fourth already.
Brad Binder is up to eighth. 6 or 7 corners into the race.
Maverick Vinales had an absolute nightmare. Vinales started 12th. He was 19th through the first sector. He's now 20th.
Goodness me, what an appalling start. Mir up the inside of Marquez,
yeah,
and there's
there you
contact.
Go. That's some early payback for yesterday. Leg out by Joan Mir. Mir was very, very aggressive, perhaps controversially so on Jack Miller last time out in Qatar.
Oh, Rins thought about the move there, up the inside of Zarco. It's the Pramac Ducati leading the 2 Suzukis then, with Rins second and Mir in third. Marc Marquez then is fourth.
Take no prisoner approach already from Joan Mir. Got himself up brilliantly. He's already recovered 6 places on this opening lap. Good start as well by Marc Marquez. He's going to be able to ease himself gently into this Grand Prix now. Bad start for the Monster Energy Yamahas though. Quartararo on pole. He's going to come over the line 5th or 6th, and Vinales has only got Savadori behind him.
Zarco does lead across the line then, as we suspected, at the end of lap 1. Fabio Quartararo from pole already has work to do. He's in 6th place. He dropped 5 places.
Oh, that was tight. Pecco Bagnaia trying to recover up some ground on the brakes into the first corner. No way he was going to make that one happen. Oh, Marquez! Whoa!
He touches the rear wheel there of Joan Mir.
Yeah.
Just about stays on. That's worked out well for Quartararo.
It really did, because he picked up Jack Miller. There was a big gate open for Quartararo. He went on through. Quartararo himself had a big moment coming out of turn 4.
There is Marc then. He's dropped back behind Jack Miller. There is also Aleix Espargaro trying to keep tabs on these guys. Let's see a replay of that. On board here with Mir. And front wheel on rear wheel, sometimes that can go horribly wrong.
Yeah, Marquez could easily have gone down there, couldn't he? Mir versus Marquez, that's already getting very, very tasty in 2021, isn't it? After their battle in Q1 yesterday, they've had a couple of contacts already today in this Grand Prix. We're not even completed 2 laps.
Keeping good company there. Luca Marini is in 10th, the rookie, ahead of Miguel Oliveira, Bagnaia, and then the 2 LCR riders, Alex Marquez and Taka Nakagami.
What on earth happened to Maverick Vinales on that 4th row? He's lost 4 seconds on that opening lap already.
On board with Rins. Looking up towards Zarco, he said he wanted to lead. Oh, there's a move there from Aleix Espargaro, I think, on Marc Marquez. Has that one stuck? Yes, it has. So Marc then drops down to 7th place. At the front, though, oh, the front end is moving around there for the Pramac Ducati rider Joan Zarco, and Rins and Mir are so good around that final turn.
You're not going to be able to get in the slipstream with Ducati, though. Can Rins make up some time on the brakes? We know how good the braking stability of the Suzuki is, but Zarco's just too many yards ahead for him to make a clean move.
Look at
Binder up the inside of Morbidelli. That's ruthless at the first corner. Can Morbidelli pinch that place back into turn 2? You bet he can.
Yeah, they're a couple of proper fighters, aren't they, on Sundays, Morbidelli and Brad Binder. So good stuff there. Here is Fabio Quartararo. Now he's got a bit of breathing space with a bit of a gap up ahead. Can he close on the Suzukis?
Aleix Espargaro did well to get through on Marc Marquez when he did. Here's Miller coming from a long way back into turn 5 on Fabio Quartararo. He was in wide and he's already had to yield that place straight back, so it was a brief trip into the top 4 for the Aussie.
Zarco can't shrug off this interest from Alex Rins at all. On board with a Suzuki man now.
Steve, for Suzuki to be in this position early on, second and third on just the third lap of the race, this bodes exceptionally well. We know how good they are at tyre management, tyre conservation. This is right where the Suzuki's needed to be.
Oh, here comes a move potentially. Yeah, I agree, Matt, completely. They will not get a better chance of getting 2 men on the podium.
They're not having to use that extra grip of the rear tyre to come through the pack, not taking big risks. Rins thought about it on the inside of turn number 13. He's got the inside line. There's not quite enough room for him to take the lead.
That was so close. How on earth did they not make contact there?
Well, that just shows how tighter the Suzuki can turn than the Ducati going into that turn 13, doesn't it?
Pol Espargaro's in real trouble. He's dropped down to 17th behind Rossi and Bastianini.
Viñales is now last. What is going on? There's that Marc Marquez out wide at turn 15 as well. Maverick Viñales at the moment is down in 21st place. A disaster for the Top Gun, who's misfiring big time.
Fastest lap of the race, Aleix Espargaro, as Quartararo moves up to 3rd. Good move from Quartararo on Joan Mir, that.
And already we've seen what we thought would happen if a Ducati got away in the lead. It's so one line here around Portugal. It's difficult to make a clean overtake, and Zarco has been able to keep Rins and Mir and Quartararo at bay. So far so good for the World Championship leader.
We've got a race on here. We have got a proper race. Through turn 5 we go. It's Ducati, Suzuki, Yamaha, Suzuki, Ducati. Marquez is now fallen behind Brad Binder, so Marquez already finding life tough in the early stages of this MotoGP race.
See the Ducati again having to run that wider sweeping line coming out of turn 5 up the hill through turn 6, where the grunt of that Desmond Sadici will be able to keep ahead of Alex Rins' Suzuki. Bit of a twitch on the rear tyre for Mir as he crests over the hill through 8 and 9.
There is Marquez behind Brad Binder, who's made up another place then. Mir thought about a move back on Quartararo, but for now the Frenchman stays in 3rd.
It's not been a dream return to Portugal for home crowd hero Miguel Oliveira at the moment. He's down in 12th place at this stage. Here he goes. Rins tried that on the last lap. This time he does make it through into turn number 13.
Oh, I thought Zarco was going to go for it back again there. Now this will be interesting because Rins is going to have the corner speed around turn 15, but Zarco's got the speed on the straight.
Sector 4 is where the Suzuki and the Yamaha have been untouchable because they've got that corner speed, they've got that edge grip, and you can see Rins there already able to pull out of what, 2 or 3 bike lengths, but he might get swallowed up now by Zarco's Ducati.
Fabio Quartararo ready to pick up the pieces on board with Joan Mir though.
Look at
he pulls up alongside him.
What can Rins do about that? Absolutely nothing. It's a shorter straight than that 1 kilometre straight in Losail, but there was nothing that Rins could do. Miller getting a bit erratic, and he lets Aleix Espargaro through after a mistake down the hill in the braking zone for turn 1.
Miguel Oliveira, he's made a mistake again. He just set the fastest lap of the race and he must have gone straight on into turn 1. He's dropped to 15.
Alex Rins probably had a good 3 or 4 bike lengths on Zarco coming through turn 15, and then they crested up the hill, and then before they got to the braking zone for turn 1, Zarco had just blitzed on by, stripped the blue paint off that Suzuki.
Pol Espargaro has entered the pits. Number 44, the Repsol Honda rider. I don't know if he's feeling the ill effects of the crash that he had from yesterday.
He was really badly beaten up, wasn't he? It looks like there may be some kind of technical problem though.
Not sure what's
Pol Espargaro is an absolute warrior. There's no way after just 5 laps he's going to pull in with any physical problems. There's some kind of technical issue. Takeo Yokoyama, HRC technical director, and his crew chief Ramon Alrin try and find out an early inspection on what's forced Pol Espargaro into the pits early doors.
Maverick Viñales is still in 20th place.
Oh, Rins again up the inside of Zarco. That's the favoured overtake for the Suzuki then, is it? They can run that tyre to line, just release the brakes a little bit later than Johan Zarco, so that's twice in 2 laps.
That's beautifully done. Yeah. That is beautifully done.
And you can see Zarco there was just marginally offline, and as he asked for the power, rear tyre spun up underneath him. It was just a small move offline by Zarco.
clever from Quartararo. Now, can he get in the slipstream of Rins? He can. As we cross the line then to complete lap 5, it's Rins, but here comes Zarco, through on both of them. No. But Quartararo's having none of it. He stays in second place.
Yeah, the Suzuki and the Yamaha have got fantastic braking stability, so has the Ducati, but in that game of dare, the game of chance on the brakes into turn 1, it was won by
Someone's
Rins and
gone
Quartararo.
down. Someone has just gone down.
Oh, it's a
Ducati of Miller.
It's Jack Miller.
Miller's gone down. The nightmare continues for the Australian.
And he's got his head in his hands. Jack Miller crashes out of podium contention then here in Portimao. Pain in Portimao for the Australian.
At the front of this one, it's Rins that leads from Quartararo and fellow Frenchman, the World Championship leader, Johann Zarco. Then it's Mir. Aleix Espargaro still looks a threat, doesn't he, in 5th place. What happened, though, to Jack Miller? He's just behind Aleix Espargaro here. Wow, that's so peculiar. What happened there?
Such an unusual crash there for Jack Miller. Such an unusual crash. You can see why he had his head in his hands. Something's going on with Miguel Oliveira as well, our race winner from last year. He's dropped down to 15th place. Shout out to Taka Nakagami. Heroic performance at the moment by the Japanese man. Battered and bruised to the absolute extreme. Not an inch of his body is not without incessant pain. And he's in the point scoring places right now.
Rins is in the mood. He leads.
Something must be going on with Vinales. He must have some kind of technical problem himself, Steve. He's doing mid-42s. He's absolutely nowhere. On that
Someone
last
else
lap,
has gone down.
2.1 seconds slower than Rins.
Is that another bike that's gone down in our ears? I'm sure I just heard a bike crash. It is. Oliveira's gone down now.
Wow.
The race winner from here in November.
A dream win 4 months ago to an absolute nightmare then for Miguel Oliveira. He was down heavy in qualifying yesterday at turn number 9. Vinales must have some kind of major problem. He's 2 seconds away from the race leading pace.
There's Marc Marquez at the moment. He's struggling to stay involved in the top 8. Bagnaia has now just gone past him. So Bagnaia is up into 8th place. Of course, factory Ducati hopes now have just pinned on his shoulders after the crash of Jack Miller. Morbidelli's just gone up into 5th as well.
So 2 men that were on the podium here 4 months ago have already exited stage left very early on here. Oliveira, the race winner, and Jack Miller, 2nd in the Portuguese Grand Prix. Our 1-2 from last year already down and out. What's happened to Oliveira? Here he is.
Something must be going wrong because the lap before that he was doing a 1:43. So what on earth happened there?
Now Vinales has got down to a 41 flat, which is still a second away from where he needs to be.
This is your leading quartet: Alex Rins from Quartararo, Joan Mir and Johann Zarco. Mir is closing on the group. I mean, Oliveira has rejoined the race. Further back, Marquez is still there in the mix behind Binder and Bagnaia. Luca Marini's having a great ride so far. He's still in the top 10.
Gaining some gold experience there, isn't he? The rookie. Great job by him. Valentino Rossi down in 12th place.
Around turn 15 we go. Fabio Quartararo looks a bit closer again to Alex Rins. Now, can he get into the slipstream? We're on board with El Diablo. Now he's being urged on, is Alex Rins, by his team. Fastest lap of the race to Zarco, who goes through naturally on the straight past Mir into 3rd.
Yeah, he's having to work really hard, isn't he, Zarco, to try and run the pace of Rins and Quartararo ahead of him. Was that Morbidelli a little bit wide going into turn 1?
Oh, Rins is really wide, and now they're side by side. Luckily, he's got the inside line for turn 4 as Rins. Quartararo, Matt, you just get the feeling that he's now warming into things. He's got the heat in that hard tyre. If he gets to the front, he could have a chance to break away.
We talked, Zarco's wide into turn 5, and Mir with the inside line. He was already committed. He had to take that move on. There was a little bit of rubbing there. Rubbing is racing is the old cliche. Brad Binder's taken 6th place from Aleix Espargaro. We said he was a Sunday man. He's turned up on a Sunday yet again, the South African. Quite a brilliant performance by him. He's come from 15th.
What a rider Brad Binder is. It's unbelievable, isn't he? He really is something. These are the leading 4, about to be joined by Franco Morbidelli, of course, also, much like the other Yamahas, went for the hard rear tyre. Aleix then has dropped to 8th, Marc Marquez 9th. Further back, Alex Marquez is 11th, Rossi's in 12th, ahead of Nakagami, Bastianini and Danilo Petrucci. We're on board here with Fabio Quartararo. who was putting in 139s for fun yesterday
He was.
in FP4. It's just a matter of time before he's doing that again.
8 laps in the 139 bracket yesterday for Fabio Quartararo in that crucial FP4 session. Nobody else in the entire field was able to register one. Head and shoulders above everybody else in FP4 yesterday was the Frenchman, and again he's going to try and put the pressure on Alex Rins, dropping down the hill into the braking zone for the first corner.
Here
Is
he
he going
comes.
for it? Yeah, he's got the move done, he's got the inside line. Rins can't turn in.
Oh, he was really pushing the front end there, Fabio Quartararo, but you have to admire the way he's gone about his business here. He didn't panic after the rough start when he dropped back to 5th or 6th place.
And it was much later in the Grand Prix in Doha, but once Fabio Quartararo hit the front with clear track in front of him, nobody impeding his lines, he got his head down and did those 4 155 ones in succession, broke the Ducatis behind him. Is he going to try and do the same tactic here and try and streak away from the Suzukis of Rins and Mir?
Yeah, watch the start here for Quartararo. Initially, actually, as the lights go out, not a bad start, but Rins goes straight by him. The Yamaha, oh, there's almost contact there between him and Rins. Immediately, he's beaten by 2 Ducatis. Marc Marquez goes through on him as well. And then for good measure, Joan Mir at one point gets past as well.
Cracking start, wasn't it, by Alex Rins, the start that he wanted. Look at that, yeah, there was definite contact there between Quartararo and Rins launching off the line.
But he didn't panic. He knows he's got the speed underneath him, Quartararo. He was helped a little by the incident with Marc Marquez and Jack Miller.
And this is kind of what he did in Doha. Already putting daylight between himself and Alex Rins. He's got, what, 7, 8, 9 bike lengths on the Spaniard already. This is just the way he executed that brilliant master plan last time out in Qatar. And it's all going plan A to perfection right now for Quartararo.
Yeah, across the line, this will be a 39, surely
He's
it
done
is,
it.
a
That's
39.999.
You cannot believe it's a carbon copy. A lot earlier on in the Grand Prix, as we just mentioned, but he's doing exactly what he did in Doha. Get to the front, get your head down and try and clear off. Abject frustration for poor Jack Miller. Plenty for him to contemplate. Just 12 days out of arm pump surgery. He was having a real strong ride actually with Jack Miller. Quickest in this morning's warm-up session, in podium contention when he had a rather bizarre crash in between turns 2 and 3.
This is Marc Marquez. That's how the championship would look. Fabio Quartararo would take the lead from Joan Zarco as things stand. Simon, some observations from yourself.
Yeah, I only saw that crash of Jack's once on the replay, but it almost looked like it blipped on the way in. I don't know if he touched the throttle or it was like the rear pushed the front let go. Just one other thing is Joan Mir is the one I'm watching at the moment because he's so clever at not giving the tyres a hard time in this period, you know, ready for the fight at the end. I'm not 100% sure he's doing that, but that's what I'm waiting to see if he does.
Yeah, thanks for that, Simon. So often last year, Mir was the strongest of anyone in the closing stages, but the question is at the moment is whether or not they'll be able to live with the pace that's about to come from Fabio Quartararo out front.
The Suzukis all weekend have been brilliant in Sector 3, where you need that agility, that manoeuvrability and a bit of turning, but here the Yamahas, with that extra edge grip and their corner speed, Quartararo has been untouchable in this 4th sector. He's been really, really strong, and again, look at the gap he's able to pull out on Alex Rins in that 4th sector alone through turns 14 and 15. Alex Rins being asked big questions. He's trying to respond. He's just set his own personal best lap of the race, a 1:40.069, but it was only 300ths quicker than Quartararo ahead of him.
Pit Byron nodding his head, and I'm not surprised, in admiration for the South African Brad Binder, who somehow, despite having shown no pace to be able to fight in the top 6, is still in 6th place ahead of Bagnaia and Aleix Espargaro.
Right on podium pace as well are the men in 7th and 8th, Bagnaia and Aleix Espargaro. They've just exchanged 40.2s. They're not completely out of this yet. Bagnaia's 2.7 seconds behind Quartararo.
Out of the seat there is Brad Binder. He's being hunted down by Bagnaia, as Matt just mentioned, getting into his rhythm. At the front, though, the Suzuki still chase Fabio Quartararo. There were questions after Qatar as to whether or not the Yamaha could put in a performance similar to that once we got back into Europe. I think the question's been answered here. A quick check on Vinales, by the way. He's in 16th. He's still not in the points. He's lapping much better now. There will be some points on offer for him shortly, but it's way, way too late.
Still don't think he's done a lap in the 140, Steve. It's another 141 low from Vinales. It's been an unmitigated disaster for him. And what's going to really hurt is seeing his factory Yamaha teammate Fabio Quartararo leading this Portuguese Grand Prix.
Mapping 2 was the information given to Fabio Quartararo. Is it time to charge? Is it time to wind things back? He's got full heat now into that hard rear tyre. Sector 4 has been Fabio Quartararo's all weekend. No one's been able to touch him, and that could be key.
Look at that again on board. A great demonstration there of the difference in the corner speed with the Suzuki's no mug, is it, in terms of corner speed. Quartararo then again dips down into those high 139s, 139.884 on lap 11. And that's the best lap of the race so far. 4/10 he is now, eked out ahead of Alex Rins. Bagnaia has got through then on Brad Binder. So Pecco Bagnaia next in his eye line is his VR46 Academy colleague Franco Morbidelli. It's been a real good charge through the pack by Bagnaia. Quite a bit of different story had he qualified on the front row, had he not had that stunning all-time lap record at the end of Q2 yesterday, wiped out for the yellow flag infringement. Of course, the big crash from Miguel Oliveira at turn 9, that curtailed Bagnaia's pole celebrations.
Interesting for Aleix Espargaro, Matt. The same sort of situation as Qatar, where in the early laps he just gets bullied out of a few places, but then he comes on strong again in the closing stages.
Yeah, and at the moment, you've got to say, Joan Mir just struggling to go at the moment with Quartararo and Rins ahead of him. There's nothing between their lap times, but you can just see on this lap in particular, that gap actually between Rins and Mir has gone up to over a second for the first time.
Quartararo still has some bother here from Alex Rins. He won't go away, but we're now entering the 4th sector, and this part of the circuit is where Quartararo steams away from Alex Rins.
The Suzuki so gentle on its tyres, and Alex Rins has got the finesse, hasn't he? He's not an aggressive rider. It's like a ballet dancer almost, finesse Alex Rins has, and he will be really, really strong in terms of tyre management as well. This man's not bad when it comes to that job as well. Yeah, Quartararo and Rins, they've just exchanged fastest lap for the races, but who do we need to keep an eye on? It's the Italian Pecco Bagnaia, who had good pace all weekend in terms of race trim. He's now the fastest man on the circuit, 39.728. How much, though, of that rear tyre is Bagnaia having to use to get himself into this position?
You're right about Joan Mir as well, Matt. He's just coming under a bit of attack again now from Johann Zarco.
Yeah, well, when you look at the gap between Rins and Mir on that last lap, it was a big one. Mir a 40.3, Rins a 39.7, so 6/10 the gap that Mir lost to his teammate on that last lap alone.
There is Bagnaia then, the fastest man on circuit, arguably the fastest man yesterday as well, but
look how much he's been able to gap Binder and Aleix Espargaro, Steve. Once he got through on the KTM man and the Aprilia man, he's been able to check out from those two really, really quickly.
Great onboard shots of this undulating circuit in Portugal. On board here with the Suzuki of Alex Rins looking up to Quartararo.
I've got to say, to be fair to him, Valentino Rossi's doing some pretty impressive lap times at the moment. 140.4 over the line last time for the Doctor. Well, that was only a tenth slower, less than a tenth slower than Joan Mir in 3rd place. Yeah. But what can you do from 17th on the grid? Nothing.
No, but the good news is that he's
at least he's got some speed.
Yeah, half a second in terms of race pace there, because yesterday he couldn't get into anywhere near the mid 140s.
They've obviously found the magic wand setup on Sunday yet again, haven't they?
Around turn 15 we go. There will be 12 laps to go. We've reached the halfway point of this race in Portugal.
Yeah, quite clearly there from that outside of turn 15 shot. At the moment, this is becoming a 2-horse race between Fabio Quartararo and Alex Rins.
39.6.
Brilliant. Joan Mir's going to have his hands full hanging on to that podium finish. He's the first MotoGP World Champion to start the defence of his title without a podium in the first 2 since the late great Nicky Hayden back in 2007. He won't want to make it 3 in a row.
He threatened this in 2019 in his rookie season, did Fabio Quartararo. He was just missing that little bit of experience. Last year didn't go to plan, but this is a turbocharged Fabio Quartararo.
Yeah, and conventional wisdom would suggest that, yes, we know how good the Suzuki is at managing the tyres, but Fabio Quartararo should have the better endurance, having plumped on the grid late on for the hard rear compound. Particularly in these temperatures. Feels like definitely it's the hottest temperatures we've had all weekend. Michelin did say if the track goes over 35 degrees, then the hard rear tyre certainly does come into play.
I have to say, and give a shout out to Taka Nakagami as well, the battered and bruised Japanese rider who's just set his fastest lap of the race. He's just 1 place behind Valentino Rossi.
Well, he's lapping at the same pace as his teammate Alex Marquez, who's a little bit further up the road in 10th.
Paolo Campinotti, Pramac Racing team principal, keeping an eye on Johan Zarco, the championship leader. He won't be the championship leader as things stand. The checkered flag went out, but Zarco is closing on this man, Joan Mir.
Credit to Zarco. He got himself into the high 139s on that last lap himself. 39.884 was a PB lap for the Frenchman. But he's not going to be able to run the corner speed of the Suzuki through that final corner. Can he get the rear tyre hooked up enough to attack Mir on the start-finish straight? You bet he can. There's your answer. And it's a fairly emphatic one, isn't it? Quartararo and Rins yet again exchange fastest laps of the Grand Prix. 39.654 for Quartararo, immediately bettered with a 39.598 from Rins.
Zarco made the Suzuki look like a Moto2 bike then on the start-finish straight, so the World Championship leader moves up onto the podium again.
That's so demoralising, isn't it, for Joan Mir, having to work so hard in the twisty sections of Portimao just to try and keep that position. And Zarco, just with the free time, winds that Ducati up, pins the throttle and just blitzes on by like Mir standing still.
Alex Rins is keeping the pressure on Fabio Quartararo at the front of this race at the moment.
Well, that's all he can do, isn't it? That is all he can do, try and force the Frenchman into some kind of an error. At the moment, it's been picture perfect for Fabio Quartararo. He has not looked like making that mistake, which will give Rins a chance to snatch the lead back.
How important it was, those starts for the Suzukis, to get themselves in prime positions from the word go.
Vinales is now lapping in the 140s. Better late than never, but it is far too late for him to have any impact on this Grand Prix.
Someone's gone down.
There's been another crash, hasn't there?
Someone has fallen out of this race. Who has crashed out of the Portuguese Grand Prix? Because we heard just something then. I think Rossi's gone down. It is. Valentino Rossi has crashed. What a shame for him, because he just hit some decent pace.
He'd just taken his brother Luca Marini for 12th. At the start of this Grand Prix, we had 3 sets of brothers involved, Marini and Rossi, the Marquez boys and the Espargaro brothers. We've now only got 1 full set of brothers left in the battle, and that's the Marquez brothers, who at the moment are 9th and 10th.
Bagnaia closes on his academy pal, Franco Morbidelli. It's a matter of when, not if, that the number 63 goes through.
When you look at Rossi's recent record, Steve, now that's just 12 points scored in his last 9 races. Very, very worrying times indeed for Valentino Rossi.
I think he'd be pleased to get out of here. Jerez is a circuit he adores, and let's hope that he can put in a better showing there. Of course, on the podium in Andalusia last year. We're riding here with Pecco Bagnaia in 6th. There's a gap then back to Binder in 7th. Aleix Espargaro behind him. Marc Marquez, to his credit, at this stage of the race, is still inside the top 10. And he's lapping in the low 140s. Not bad at all.
Yeah, Franco Morbidelli's getting the hurry up as well. Let's see what happened to Valentino Rossi. Turn number 11 is going to catch out the doctor. Tips it in.
Oh, that went incredibly early, didn't it?
Yeah. Like maybe he was just getting in a little bit offline, but that's a shame, because actually he had some very, very respectable pace. He was trying to fight his way through to the top 10. Track limits warning for Franco Morbidelli. So he's got to be pretty careful. Maverick Vinales has also had a track limits warning as well. Vinales then, with a few crashes ahead of him, is finally in the point scoring places right now, but 14th is not going to cut it if you want to win a world title in MotoGP.
9 laps to go in Portugal. Still Quartararo from Rins. Let's see if Bagnaia can use his Ducati power to go past the Yamaha. Of course he can. And through he goes. Bagnaia up into 5th place now.
Luxury position, is it, on one of those Ducatis, because you don't have to take the risks that the other riders do to make your passes on the brakes going into corners, which puts you in that really precarious zone when there's front tyre wear coming to the extreme now at this stage of the Grand Prix. As long as you're close enough to get over that crest and attack, it's just like we said, free time. You don't really have to put in much effort. As long as you click the right gears and get the throttle pinned, the Ducati makes it look so easy with that brute horsepower they have.
He's now got his eyes set on Joan Mir. These two are the guys leading then. Quartararo from Alex Rins. Zarco in a bit of a lonely third now.
He's got some cracking pace right now though, Zarco. It's another PB lap from him. He's broken Mir. He has broken the resistance of the world champion. 39.7 on that last circuit for Johan Zarco. 10th and a half quicker than this man we're looking at right now, Rins.
Here is Marc Marquez, still tracking Aleix Espargaro on the Aprilia.
Yeah, Marquez has just crossed the line to the 40 flat, which when you consider his physical condition and the length of time he's been out of the saddle on that Repsol Honda, it's 518 long days since Marc Marquez actually saw a checkered flag in the MotoGP World Championship when he was victorious in Valencia way back in 2019. That will be mission accomplished. He'll want to get a real good test on where he's at with that recovering right arm over the full race distance here today. And if it's a top 10, well then so be it. It's just great to see him actually back out there competing.
Yeah, well, it's answered the questions, hasn't it? Finally, for months and months and months, people have been wondering how he'd come back. Look at these times from the two guys at the front. 39.472 from Quartararo and a 39.471 from Alex Rins. Almost identical times.
Rins is doing absolutely everything within his power here. He can't do anything more than run the pace he's doing. He's just praying that Quartararo cracks under the pressure. At the moment, those cracks not appearing at all. Rock solid, isn't he, Quartararo? It's been an exhibition in leading from the front by the Frenchman. Every time Rins looks like he's going to exert that pressure to try and show Quartararo a front wheel, Quartararo just finds that little bit extra. On that last lap, Steve, there was 1/1000th of a second between the pair of them.
Alex Rins perhaps due a bit of a confidence-boosting result here at the start of this season. This is Alex Rins we're on board with now. He kicked off with a 6th in Qatar, 4th 2 weeks ago. He's going up in increments of 2 at the moment because he's 2nd right now. This is Fabio Quartararo. So far, not buckling under the pressure.
Yeah, and he's been asked some massive questions here. A tough examination. He's passing at the moment with flying colours, is Fabio Quartararo. And this is in sector 4, where he's been really strong all weekend. The Yamaha M1 just gets that rear tyre hooked up and he can carry lots of corner speed, which is the key asset of that M1 package. And again, you can just see how he's able to pull those 5 or 6 bike lengths on Alex Rins, which just makes sure that Rins can't get close enough.
Another 39.450 though from Alex Rins.
Yeah. If Alex Rins finishes in this race 2nd tonight, Steve, he will be able to go to bed tonight and go, do you know what? I gave it my all. I got the absolute best out of myself and that motorcycle. And there's nothing else you can do. Sometimes on the day you're just beaten by the marginally better man. At the moment, Fabio Quartararo is in that position.
Further back, Johann Zarco will face a fight for the podium here because Bagnaia, someone's gone down. Bagnaia goes up a place. Who's crashed out? Who's crashed out? Oh no, it's Alex Rins.
Do you know
He's
what,
crashed out.
Steve, sometimes we've seen this before. Alex Rins in great point scoring opportunities and he makes blunders at the worst possible time. Well, we said it was him that was putting pressure on Fabio Quartararo. Of course, Quartararo's pace was putting just as much pressure and more on Alex Rins. And it's Rins who's caved into that pressure.
It's such an awkward corner to get right. Turn 5,
Quartararo's speed has pushed him into that mistake. He's done everything and he can't find a way through, even to show Quartararo's front wheel. Despair for Rins. Few times we've seen that in the past, haven't we, where he's been in great chances for the podium and to fight for the win, and it's gone begging. Cast your minds back to Austria last year. He just slipped up the inside of Andrea Dovizioso and crashed out immediately. And what that means is now Fabio Quartararo is going to have a very comfortable Sunday afternoon stroll in the sunshine to back-to-back wins here in Portugal.
Yeah, no surprise to see the information being given there to Fabio Quartararo. He can breathe. He's 4.2 seconds clear, and at the moment we're on for another French one too, or are we? Because Bagnaia is flying. He moved past Mir. He's now hunting down Zarco, and he's got much better pace as Pecco Bagnaia. This has been a fine ride from the man in 11th, and he must be wondering what could have been done from pole position.
He's definitely going to be contemplating what might have been, isn't he? In terms of the championship as well, right now, Johann Zarco is going to surrender the championship lead. It might get a little bit worse for him as well, because he's going to have his hands full trying to keep Bagnaia at bay, and he can't do it. Bagnaia nicks the inside line at turn 5. Perfectly executed move down the hill into braking zone for that tricky turn 5. You will not see a better move than that. Clean as a whistle, and Bagnaia now up into 2nd place, and that does change the championship picture slightly.
Yeah, and Joan Mir fancies a sniff at a podium as well all of a sudden. The Suzuki man, the only Suzuki man left in this race, the world champion Mir. He's in 4th. This is the battle for 2nd then. From 11th on the grid, Bagnaia has fought his way through into 2nd place.
Classy ride this by Bagnaia.
Oh, no!
Zarco's gone down.
Zarco, the World Championship leader, is now down and out of the race.
Rins blows a podium. Zarco blows a podium. He certainly blows the World Championship lead now. It's all going the way of his compatriot Fabio Quartararo. Championship rivals biting the dust. Quartararo checked out a long time ago, and look at that now. Quartararo will have a 14-point advantage going into the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez last year, where what happened? He dominated both races from pole position.
A high rate of attrition this weekend in Portugal. Let's see this one then.
Pretty forgettable weekend then for Pramac Ducati. No Jorge Martin after his high-speed spill yesterday, and that front went really quickly, didn't it, from underneath Johan Zarco.
Mir did really well, actually, not to get sucked into that one, because it's ever so easy to be distracted.
That went so quick on Zarco. He wasn't expecting that, was it? It was almost like a crash in the rain.
Fastest man on circuit at the moment is Aleix Espargaro. He did this in Qatar as well. It's a bit too late. He's in 6th place as a result of these crashes up ahead of him. Marc Marquez is now in 7th behind him. Alex Marquez is 8th. Nakagami is in 9th place.
Well,
well, I don't know what to say about Alex Rins. I agree with you, Matt. It's happened all too often.
Well,
but two big men in this race have said goodbye to great podium opportunities.
Yeah, it's a bit of deja vu, isn't it, for this man, Alex Rins. You've got to give it so much credit to Fabio Quartararo, because he was putting Rins in this kind of position. Tiny mistakes, small, fine margins in MotoGP this year. Shinichi Sahara and Ken Kawachi leading management down at Suzuki. They cannot believe it, can they? And he's absolutely livid with himself, isn't he, Alex Rins? 20 points, potentially 25, have gone begging here in the Portuguese Grand Prix, and he is absolutely inconsolable.
Some big names have crashed out of this race. Jack Miller, Valentino Rossi, Alex Rins, Johan Zarco. Oliveira crashed and remounted as well. Survival of the fittest here in Portugal.
It's all this buts, whats and maybes, but you've got to feel if Pecco Bagnaia had qualified on that front row, he may well have been right at the sharp end of this race as well, with the likes of Quartararo and Rins, before Rins just bailed out on the factory Suzuki, because Bagnaia has put daylight now between himself and Joan Mir, almost half a second. Mir in turn's got a second, then back to Franco Morbidelli, who's trying desperately to get himself back into podium contention. 4th place would be a real solid result for Franco Morbidelli, given where he's come from in Qatar.
He's closing on Joan Mir. It's not over yet for him. Brad Binder's still doing an outstanding job on the KTM. He's 1 place ahead of Aleix Espargaro.
Well, we talked about how big Brad Binder's shovel was in Qatar. It's got even bigger here this weekend. He's digging himself out of some monumental holes, isn't he, Binder? 5th place rescued here from 15th. And there's not been well, Zarco and Rins have gone down in front of him, but he's had to do an awful lot of work to come through the pack.
The perfect start to the year in Qatar, unfortunately, comes down for Johan Zarco. Let's have a look now from the helicopter view. Was he offline at all? The front end was just moving around a touch, wasn't quite settled.
Never got settled coming through turn 9, did it? Ducati, well, as we mentioned, it's been a very punishing weekend for Pramac here in Portugal, with Jorge Martin sidelined through injury. But at the moment, El Diablo in dreamland.
Further back, the leading rookie is Enea Bastianini again. He does this so often. I say so often, it's only his 3rd Grand Prix, but he comes on strong in the latter stages of races, the rookie. He's 9th now. He's gone ahead of Taka Nakagami. Vinales is 11th, Luca Marini 12th, and then it's Petrucci, Savadori and Lecuona at the moment taking the final point.
How on earth is Taka Nakagami riding inside the top 10? Yes, there's been fallers in front of him. How on earth has he even started this Grand Prix? His pain threshold off the scale.
Morbidelli can definitely smell a podium. Again, he's faster than Joan Mir up ahead of him. The Petronas Yamaha rider. This would be the perfect remedy to a grim start to 2020.
Just saw a marshal there in the background as well, coming to the fence with a Brazilian flag. They perhaps feel like Franco Morbidelli's honing in on a podium here as well.
That might just give a bit of motivation to Frankie. Is he going to be dancing the samba on the podium? It would be quite the scalp, wouldn't it, if he was able to wrestle a podium place away from the world champion, Joan Mir.
South American roots, of course, for Franco Morbidelli. having done all the hard work to come through the pack from 11th on the grid. Now, how much has that cost Pecco Bagnaia rear tyre life right at the end of this race? Because Mir and Morbidelli are starting to reel him back in here.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? You can just see there's a lack of grip from the front as well.
And I would not want to be trying to race the Suzuki and a Yamaha, Steve, through that final sector. It's going to be difficult to overtake, but they're going to have so much better edge grip. They can perhaps latch on to the back of Bagnaia over the crest and then line up a move on the brakes down the hill.
He's been very unlucky, hasn't he, so far this year, Pecco Bagnaia. He was unfortunate not to be on the podium again in the Grand Prix of Doha. He's found himself in a position on the grid today which I think most people in the paddock think is not unfair, but it's unjustified.
There might be some late heartache coming his way here, because he's going to have to do an amazing defensive job to keep Mir and Morbidelli behind him.
Across the line, yeah, Morbidelli's the faster man. Brad Binder is also in the 139s on the KTM. Now, if Binder catches this group, it's too late, surely. You could just see him in the background there. What a ride from the South African. I can't say it enough. You cannot praise Binder enough. No. He manages on a Sunday to do what Rossi used to do. He finds an extra 50% from somewhere, because his pace in this race is about a second quicker than I think his predicted pace was.
It's been absolutely astonishing. Another good ride by Aleix Espargaro on course for Aprilia's only their top six in their MotoGP history in the modern four-stroke era, of course.
And what a ride. What can you say about the man out front at the moment as well, Fabio Quartararo? This is a very different young man that we're looking at the moment.
Where can Mir pick his moment? Will there be a moment? It's one thing to get on the rear tyre of Pecco Bagnaia. It's an entirely different proposition to find a way through.
Who's that? Who is that on the left there?
It's Oliveira.
It's Oliveira. Goodness me, I had a heart attack then.
Panic over.
This is the battle for second between almost four riders. We're getting closer to the last lap of the race.
Yeah, Binder is just going to run out of time here, isn't he? Probably needed 2 or 3 more laps to get himself right in this podium battle. Digging deep himself here is Bagnaia, desperate to cling on to that podium. Let's check his advantage over the line as we start the last lap. You can forget about Fabio Quartararo. He's been untouchable today. Topped FP3, topped FP4. Took pole position, and it looks like he's going to take back-to-back wins here then. Last lap started. Mir, a 10th just over behind Pecco Bagnaia. Franco Morbidelli desperately trying to hang in there as well on that 2-year-old Yamaha.
Bagnaia, he's got the power underneath him, but he's going to come under intense pressure here from Mir and Morbidelli. Quartararo's live heart rate just came on screen, and I thought it was going to say something else on there.
My heart rate shot up to 661 beats for me, because I thought it was coming up F Quartararo, grad.
Yeah, same, absolutely the same. Through turn 5 round. At the moment, Bagnaia still holds on. This guy has been fantastic. He did not panic in the early stages when it went wrong. He got into his rhythm. He forced Alex Rins into a crash. Quartararo is well and truly fired up in 2021.
Yeah, can Mir solve a Pecco puzzle here and try and find a way through on the Italian? You've got to give an enormous amount of credit to Pecco Bagnaia, because he really has produced an excellent last 2 or 3 laps when the Suzuki got on him.
He's close though, he's getting close. Does he fancy a lunge here, the world champion Joan Mir, or is he going to hold on to the first podium of the year?
The only place that he could really do it, Steve, was here into turn 13, but he's not going to be close enough, and now you do feel like that's it. Pecco Bagnaia should be able to defend that second place. Franco Morbidelli, unfortunately, looks like he's just going to miss out on the podium, but a welcome return to the top 6 for him.
Here we go then, the checkered flag is being made ready. Mir is going to try everything, but ultimately it's the power of the Ducati that will elude him. Fabio Quartararo makes it 2 out of 2. Outstanding from the Yamaha man. Bagnaia from 11th to 2nd. Mir picks up his first podium of the year. An excellent ride from Morbidelli. Binder as well in 5th. Aleix Espargaro 6th. And the returning Marc Marquez will take that. P7 for number 93 ahead of his younger brother Alex, with Bastianini finishing in 9th. And this is a scrap here. Nakagami holds on to a top 10 ahead of Maverick Vinales.
Well, as we said, El Diablo in dreamland. That was pure class, pure quality from Quartararo. Pushed Alex Rins into that mistake when he went down at turn 5. That left Quartararo comfortably clear at the head of the field. Back-to-back wins for the second time in his MotoGP career. and he seizes control of this MotoGP World Championship after big mistakes by Alex Rins and Johann Zarco. Great ride that by Pecco Bagnaia.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant performance by him.
Excellent work from Bagnaia.
Talk about contrasting emotions down in Monster Energy Yamaha. Full of energy on one side with Quartararo victorious, but Maverick Vinales struggling down in 11th place. Let's go down and talk to the winning team manager Maio Meregali, who I'm sure was super impressed yet again with his man Fabio Quartararo. Simon.
Mayo, what an amazing job from Fabio, but also you have proof that the new machine works in Europe as well.
Yeah, you know, when we start this weekend without because of last year's result, but the feeling has been great since the beginning, and honestly I could not expect such a pace because he has been always quick during the practices, but never so fast and never so consistent. For sure the condition of the track were better. Also the tire choice, tire choice I think has been a good one because maybe it could be a gamble, but this morning he wanted to try the hard because yesterday feeling was good, and I think the choice pay off.
Big congratulations.
Thank you, mate.
Big congratulations to Fabio Quartararo, and it's the Ronaldo celebration, isn't it?
Yeah, good friends with Cristiano. Well, they know each other anyway. I'm not saying they're good friends, but anyway, a fantastic ride. And at the moment, Fabio Quartararo looks like a completely different proposition to face. Fantastic effort. The 3 races, of course, yeah, for the first time since 2010, as you mentioned earlier, Matt.
Dream start for Yamaha. Does not get any better than that, does it?
He looks the real deal, and crucially as well, Matt, yesterday after the press conference, Fabio Quartararo, whereas previously he'd say, oh, I hope to see you in the press conference tomorrow, he said, I will see you in the press conference tomorrow.
We mentioned it in commentary yesterday, he just looks like the Fabio Quartararo 2019. Everything he does on that motorcycle, it's working, an absolute treat. He can just put it where he wants on the track. You've got to give a big shout out to Marc Marquez. 13.2 seconds behind he was at the end of that race, losing just half a second. Cracking ride, potentially one of the rides of the day from Pecco Bagnaia. 11th to 2nd, I'm sure. Simon Crafos talking to a delighted Ducati sporting director, Paolo Ciabatti.
Paolo, what a ride from Pecco. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, it was an incredible race. I think shame, because I think if he could have started from his pole position, it would be a good battle with Fabio. I think Pecco had the pace to stay with Fabio, but anyway, he was, I think, 13 in the first lap, and he came all the way to 2nd. Amazing ride, just incredible, very happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done to Pecco Bagnaia. I think everyone would agree with what he said there. It probably would have been in the mix for a fight here with Fabio.
The virtual fan wall, I'm sure fans gathered all around the world certainly enjoyed that virtuoso performance from Fabio Quartararo. Great scenes there down in Repsol Honda for Marc Marquez. I'm sure there's a bit of emotion there. You know, let's not forget, this was a moment he thought may never happen again. That was a career-threatening right arm injury he suffered in Jerez. Round of applause, richly deserved from the entire of his Repsol Honda crew. He is back, and he will get